Cool.
Welcome everybody, and thank you for joining the Anicca Digital regular webinar. And we have moved to a new time. So if you've not been to one of our Friday webinars before, this is the new time on a Thursday afternoon. It's myself, I'm Anne Stanley. I'm the founder and CTO of Anicca. I'm very pleased to introduce Brad, who is head of Owned and Earned, and he's going to take over. So welcome, Brad.
Hi, Anne. Hi, everyone.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my camera off. Brad's going to leave his on. I'll help with the chat. Over to you, Brad.
Cool. Thanks, Anne. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all having a good day despite the miserable weather. Today's webinar is going to be on SEO in a zero-click world. So I'm kind of focusing this on the stuff that is working, and judging by the answers in the polls, hopefully everyone will leave here with some valuable knowledge on the way that they could be directing their SEO, or you think we're already doing this and we're doing a really good job. So hopefully those will be one of the two outcomes for you guys today. A little bit about me. My name is Brad. I head up the Owned and Earned media team at Anicca. I have worked at Anicca for over 10 years now. Started way back in 2015. I can't even remember what I started as. I think just a SEO executive or something. And yeah, just over the years built up. Focus mainly on helping new clients that come on board, looking at things like SEO strategy, SEO setup, seeing where the gaps are at the moment and what they can do, and always also helping with delivering webinars, training, that sort of stuff on SEO and website optimization. And then just outside of work, I'm a Leicester City season ticket holder. You can make of that what you want. And I also like to play golf despite being very bad at it. Just a little bit about Anicca as well, for those of you that might not know of us as much. We've been established for 19 years this month, I think, Anne. And we focus on e-commerce and established brands. And we mainly focus on what we call the 5 S's, which is strategy, social, search, shopping, and skills. So what I thought I'd do is do a quick 1 minute, 2 minute review of everything that kind of happened last year around the SEO industry. The first major thing that happened is AEO and GEO, so generative engine optimization, killed SEO. Apparently, everyone was saying that SEO is going to die and GEO is the only thing that matter. Didn't really catch on. SEO is still very important, although GEO does sort of have its place. But with that being said, the rise of AI search is probably the biggest talking point from the SEO industry last year. ChatGPT obviously increasing their market share. How long that's going to be for, I'm not too sure. There's some interesting developments happening at the moment, which I'll go to at the end. Obviously, AI overviews continue to roll out, further reducing all organic clicks for mainly informational search terms. So I'm sure many people in the chat will be agreeing that last year, no matter how good their website performance was organically and how well their rankings maintained, the graph started to look a little bit like that as we went through the year, rather than going upwards. And that's purely because those informational queries, AI overview tends to answer them for you. Intent obviously continued to be an important factor in how we optimize our websites. We want to give people the full picture of what they need to make an informed decision. Instagram content started to become indexable in Google search as well. So again, it's kind of combining all of those social and organic content channels together. If you've got good social content, there's a likelihood that would start to show up in search, and you can really start to become quite an authority and get some extra visibility in the search results where you may previously have not got them before. And Search Console finally got some updates. So anyone that's using Google Search Console, if you don't use it at the moment, I'd highly recommend going in and setting it up for your website. It's been a little bit neglected over the last few years, but towards the end of the year, we've started to get some new features in it. Some are quite simple usability things, but there are other features that have been published, like query groups, which allows people with Search Console to look at groups of keywords rather than singular keywords without having to, go into Looker Studio or something and create your own bespoke reports. So you can go into Search Console now. You can look at things like, if you've got a page on how to validate schema or something, it will group all of the key phrases that kind of link together into one group, so you can get a better idea of how those topics are performing. And that's kind of the way that you should be looking at optimizing your website as well, looking at groups rather than just singular keywords. So 60% of Google searches result in 0 clicks. That's quite a high number, and this is from 2024 data, which seems like ages ago, but it was only just about a year or so over. So data from 2024, this is by Spark Toro and Datos, which is a SEMrush company. In Europe, around 60% of searches resulted in no clicks. And the other 40% that did click, only 74% of those people actually clicked an organic result. It was very similar in the US, with 58.5% of searches ending in no click. And this was before AI overviews were rolled out with kind of real intensity, at least, over in the UK. They started to roll out towards the end of 2024 and then really started to get pushed more in 2025. So when we're looking at things like key phrase research and looking at keyword search volumes, we have to be aware that in some cases, we need to pay attention to, if there's a keyword with 100 searches a month, potentially there's only 40% of people that are actually clicking. The other thing that we should be looking at is click-through rates. Now, this is from a study by a company called Backlinko, and this shows the average click-through rate per position. And the number one position in Google typically gets about 27.6% of the click-through rate for a search. So again, if you had a key phrase with 1,000 searches, if you ranked position 1 for that, you could probably expect about 276 clicks for that keyword on average. Number 2 position gets around 15% of the clicks. Number 3 gets about 11, and as soon as you get below position 3, you get less than 10% share of the clicks. So if you were, looking at a keyword and you say, oh, we're position 7, we're on page 1, that's great. You're only going to get less than 4% share of the clicks for that keyword. So really, we should be aiming for the very top positions when we're looking at key phrase rankings. And we want to make sure that, if we are on page 1, that we're using the key phrases that are already ranking and trying to push those up, rather than trying to get something from page 4 to page 1 where it's going to sit, at number 9 or number 10 and still not really get any clicks. If you went from position 9 to position 3, that's going to give you a much better kind of return on your investment, and you should be getting a lot more clicks from that. So why does click-through rate become so low? This is what search results currently look like for a typical search. This was best artificial grass that I just searched in Google. This screenshot, I tried to zoom in as much as I could, but still keep all of the features that were there. You can see just how busy the search results have become. If you searched for this 5 years ago, barely any of this would have been here. You might have had the sponsored products, but they would have more than likely been on the right-hand side. You wouldn't have had an AI overview. You might have had 1 or 2 normal search ads, and then it would just be a list of your normal, typical organic results. But as you can see, in this whole screenshot, there are only 2 traditional blue links that a user can see. And this isn't what the user would see when they search. They wouldn't see a page that looks like this. They would see the shopping ads at the top and a little bit of that AI overview. So right at the top, we've got a shopping ads. Under that, we've got an AI overview. Then we've got our first blue link. We've then got people also ask. We've then got a second blue link. We've then got 2 lots of organic shopping results. We've then got related searches. And then underneath that, there was one more traditional blue link. Then it went back to organic shopping results. Then it went back to a couple more results. Then it brought up some images and all this kind of stuff. So you can see when we go back to this slide looking at click-through rates, 1 and 2 kind of make sense. But if you were position 3 organically for this keyword, I don't think you would get 11% share of those clicks. With that being said, though, obviously focusing on the traditional blue links, what the traditional rankings, we can also get visibility in AI overviews, people also ask boxes, and organic shopping results. However, AI overviews, and I would also probably argue people also ask boxes, aren't necessarily designed to entice a user to click through to a website. It's more designed to educate the user and answer their question. So the thing that we want to, like I say, try and make sure of is that when we're aiming to rank our keywords on page 1 of Google, we're aiming for those top few positions where we're going to get that visibility and at least a good chance that we're going to get a click. Anything less than position 3, 4, 5 for this query, I very much doubt we're going to get many clicks through. So what and where do we need to focus? The first thing that we should always be focusing on is EAT. Now, EAT, for those that don't know, is part of the Quality Rater Guidelines, which is a document that's been published by Google that tells people how to establish their authority. And when people are going through and rating the search results and saying, this is a good result, this is a good result, this is a good result, this result shouldn't be there. This is kind of like the guide that they follow to determine whether a website is trustworthy or not, essentially. So EAT stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Now, experience comes into it, saying, is your content created by people with direct experience? If so, can we be using real life examples in our content? So if we wanted to appear for that key phrase of best artificial grass, can we do a bit of a case study saying, in our experience as people that have been landscapers for 20 years, we find that this is the best type of artificial grass to be using. We've then got expertise. Again, have we got the expertise to be talking about a specific subject? So have we got author bios on our website? Are we using real world data? Are we citing the sources of where we get our information from? If I was talking about the best artificial grass, I've got no real authority or expertise in that subject matter. So why should Google pay attention to me? Whereas if I was talking about, SEO or something like that, and I can prove, I've been working at Anicca for over 10 years. I've worked at another agency for 5 years before that. I've got the authority to kind of hopefully know what I'm actually talking about. We've then got authoritativeness. So is your brand an authority on the subject matter? So does your page just have a single page? Does your website just have a single page about a topic? Or is it just mentioned kind of briefly in passing? Have you got links, citations, and that sort of stuff from other websites that can say, as a vote of confidence, these guys know what they're talking about when it comes to artificial grass? And then trustworthiness as well. This one's pretty simple. Are you a genuine business, basically? So have you got contact details on your website, phone numbers for people to contact you by? Have you got contact forms, social profiles? Have you got review platforms? Are you embedding reviews on your websites that are trusted from Trustpilot or reviews.io or something like that? If you can hit all of those 4 things within your website, you're kind of off to a good start already. When it comes to technical parts of our website, we also want to make sure that we're building a solid foundation and that Google can trust our website and that our website is also built in a way that's good for user interaction. So one of the fundamentals is still things like technical SEO and Core Web Vitals, which is a metric that Google uses to measure how well your website loads and how well a user can interact with it as it loads. So you can use Google's own tool, pagespeed.web.dev, and put your website in page by page to see whether you pass the Core Web Vitals. You can also use your Search Console account and it will give you data for the whole website as long as you get enough traffic to your site. So it uses real world data from people that are visiting your website on Google Chrome, for example. So as long as you're getting a good amount of people visiting the website, then you should get that in Search Console. Sometimes, depending on the split of mobile versus desktop traffic, you might get the data for desktop but not mobile, or you might get it for mobile but not desktop. And specifically when it comes to Core Web Vitals, there's 3 things that you want to focus on. So that's your largest contentful paint. So that's typically how long does it take for the largest part of that page to load, and it's typically it's usually at the top of the page. It will be the background image or your main heading on that page. You want to make sure that that is in the green. I think the cutoff for that is 2 seconds or 2.5 seconds. And you want to make sure that whatever is identified as the largest contentful paint, pagespeed.web.dev will tell you if you scroll down a little bit on the results what your largest contentful paint is. You want to make sure that you've got fetch priority high on that element so that it pulls that through first, because that's going to help improve that score. We've also got interaction to next paint, which is this one here in the middle. The interaction to next paint is basically as a user scrolls down the page, is it loading quick enough? So if you're using a lazy loader, for example, which a few years ago, everyone was told get a lazy loader because then it makes the top of the page load quicker. Now the ballpark metrics are changing, and lazy loaders, whilst they're still good, you need to make sure that they do load quickly enough. So if a user can scroll down your website quicker than your page is loading up, the likelihood is you're gonna fail that metric. And then the last thing is cumulative layout shift. And cumulative layout shift is basically, is the page jiggling about as it loads? If it is, so you've got a header image loads in, then an image loads in there, then some text loads in that pushes the image down, and then a button loads in and drops the text down. That's layout shift. It's more common if you ever try and visit a regional newspaper website or something that's got 50,000 ads on it, and the ads load in slightly later, and then you end up clicking an ad by accident or something. So you want to make sure that you're eliminating that. It can also be as small as your text loads up on the website, but then your style sheet changes the font to the font that you've said. So it'll come up with like a default font, then it'll change it to the font that you've specified you want on the website. And that's happening a bit too slow, and that can affect the cumulative layout shift as well. First contentful paint and time to first byte are not used within Core Web Vitals. It's only these top 3. So you want to try and pay attention to those 3. The other thing that we still see quite a lot that people aren't taking full advantage of is structured data. Structured data, or schema, is basically a markup language that explicitly states to search engines what a page is and what information is. So if you're ever searching for a product in Google and you see things like this come up, you might see little star ratings and things like that, or you've got events that are listed like this in little cards. This is all pulled through by structured data. Same with recipes or anything like that as well. You want to, particularly if you're e-commerce, you want to be using structured data to mark it up. You can also do things like this as well. So you can see that your price is green with a £46 crossed out. So you can add sale prices and things. Again, big green price on the search results makes your results stand out a little bit more. You can even put in the discount code that people need within that as well. So we want to make sure that we're utilizing structured data. If you're a local business, you can use it. That's going to help out locally. You've got general organization schema where you can put all of your business information in and connected social profiles and things like that. All of this stuff just helps to build out a better picture and explicitly state the important parts of a page to search engines. And AI will also use it. They don't specifically look at schema tags or anything like that, but they go through the whole page and they'll pick something out that might be within the schema. The last thing as well is just fundamental optimization. Traditional SEO is still moving the needle on rankings, and it's really just not necessarily going to go anywhere. We want to create the best website that we can, but even if we do that and we've not optimized it, it's still going to struggle to show up in the search results. So you could be passing your core web vitals, you could have all your structured data markups, you could have all the links in the world from all of the newspapers, but if you're not specifically optimizing your pages on your website for searches and queries, search engines aren't going to know what to actually show your website for. So we want to make sure that we're doing those basics right. So have we got our keyword in the title tag, for example? Does the URL of our website make sense? Is our artificial grass page /artificial grass, or is it just / page XYZ? If it's page XYZ, then it doesn't make sense. Meta descriptions, Google will rewrite these in 90% of cases because you've got one page that satisfies a lot of different sort of queries. So I would write a meta description and make sure that I've got my keywords in there, make sure I've got a USP in there, call to action, that sort of thing. It's not used as a ranking factor, but in the cases that Google doesn't rewrite it itself to tailor it to that user, we want something that's going to entice a user to click through to the website. And then obviously when we get onto the post-click element, so the stuff that's actually on the page, we want to make sure our H1 tags are optimized. If Google doesn't use a page title in its search results, it will use your H1 tag. So again, we want to make sure that our H1 tag relates back to our page title. So we're mentioning similar keywords and things like that. And then we've also got the page body content. Are we fully covering a topic as well as we need to on this page? Are we linking through to supporting content, which I'll get onto afterwards? Are we building a big enough picture on our website for a user to try and get an informed decision so that they can take whatever action they need to on our website and not click back into the Google search results and go to a competitor's website? We also need to make sure that we're aware of user intent. So Google and search engines classify keywords based on what it believes a user wants to do when they search for that query. Searches could be commercial, they could be navigational, transactional, informational. And if a search is commercial or transactional, it's much more likely that Google is going to show product pages, category pages, that sort of thing. Whereas if someone is searching for an informational phrase, Google's a lot more likely to show blogs or guides or videos and that sort of thing. We need to make sure on our website that we're optimizing the right type of page. So here you can see a search for kitchen bins and a search for how to lay artificial grass. The kitchen bins search results, you can see here we've got category page, category page, category page, category page. Google wants to show a category page. If we had a blog post on the best types of kitchen bins, the likelihood is we're not really going to show up for this on page 1 because we know the intent of that is commercial or transactional. So Google wants to show products to people for them to be able to buy them. The same goes with how to lay artificial grass on soil. This brings up a guide, video, a guide. So again, if we had a category page or a product page and we were trying to rank for how to lay artificial grass, again, the intent doesn't match the action on our website. We don't want someone to necessarily buy the artificial grass. We might want them to buy it in the future, but first we want to educate them on how to lay it so they can make a decision on whether they can lay it in the summer or whether they should be hiring an installer to come and do it for them. If so, then they can make that informed decision and also get you into to install it instead of just buying it off you. We also need to make sure that we are focusing on things like AI search and also Google AI mode. It has been clear that obviously Google and AI models, the aim for them is to keep people on their own websites. That's why, Google's got the AI overviews on there. That's why, it brings up the rich snippets and things like that because it wants people to stay on there. It brings up, YouTube or something so people can stay on a Google-owned property. They don't want people necessarily to always go off to other websites because it's worth more to them if they interact with Google. So we want to make sure that we are aiming to be visible on AI. However, it's incredibly inconsistent to try and monitor how visible we are on these platforms. There was a study that came out last week, again by SparkToro. If you don't know SparkToro, it's a company that's run by a guy called Rand Fishkin. And anyone that's done SEO for a period of time probably knows Rand Fishkin from back in his Moz days and Whiteboard Fridays and stuff. But he did a study where he got hundreds of people to basically do the exact same searches in AI every day for a certain period of time and send him the responses that AI was giving back to them. And what they found was that there was less than a 1 in 100 chance that ChatGPT or Google's AI mode would give you the same list of brands in 2 responses. And there was even less chance that it would give you the same businesses in the same exact order. And that's if you ask it, 100 times. So trying to determine your visibility in AI is very difficult. The best thing that you can do is look at how well AI understands your business in regards to a specific topic. And then we can say, okay, we know that they know enough about us that we should be coming up. But I could search one day for something and then search straight away afterwards. One time my client would come up, the next time they wouldn't come up. So we want to try and just make sure we're feeding the AI as much information that we can and filling in all the content gaps that we might need. So I actually went and tested this myself straight away after because I thought that seems insane that it wouldn't give you the same list of businesses if you did it 100 times. So I went and did this. It was the exact same query. I asked ChatGPT, what is the best artificial grass for a garden that is 50% in the shade and is also dog friendly? I'm based in the UK. I asked it this in the same account, asked it once, opened a new chat, the exact same account, the exact same query, and did it again, literally 30 seconds afterwards. And it actually gave me 2 completely different answers. It featured the same business twice, but the other ones that were in there were completely different. And it also gave me slightly differing facts on what was best. So you can see many installers recommend around 30 to 35 mil grass for shaded areas. And in here it says, 30 to 40 millimeters. So yeah, I also got different results. If I scrolled through, some of the other ones did come up, but they were completely in a different order. So I'd highly recommend going to SparkToro's website and just reading this report from last week because it's quite interesting. They did it across, I think they were using a thing about recommending a set of kitchen knives or something. But they also did it for recommending like hospitals for care and things, and the AI would give them a different hospital every single time. So, it begs the question whether you should even trust AI for something that serious, because it's kind of just aggregating data and chucking out whatever it wants at you. So should we actually be bothered about AI search? It is becoming increasingly recognized. And brands obviously want to improve their AI visibility because that's, wherever the traffic goes, we need to kind of chase it. And typically that's going to fall under the remit of an SEO person. I do think it is important, but I also think it should be more considered as part of SEO rather than its own completely separate thing. The end goal is still the same, and a lot of the tactics are the same. You're just taking that into a different sort of area. And whilst we're not always going to benefit from increased clicks or organic traffic, AI can be that kind of gateway to unlocking additional brand awareness. So when people are using AI search, what they're going to do is ask a question to ChatGPT or whatever it might be. And they're going to say, what is the best thing to do this task? AI is going to respond. It's going to mention a group of brands saying, or a website saying, if you're looking to improve, whatever it might be, then these are the tools that we would recommend. The user's going to look through those. They're going to become aware subconsciously of your brand. They're not necessarily going to click through to the website from AI, but they're going to sort of mentally register that brand name in the back of their head. They're probably then going to ask follow-up questions to the AI and say, okay, out of these that you've recommended, give me the pros and cons. How much do they cost? What are the reviews like? Can I get a free trial and things like that? Then it's going to come through. It's going to give you more information about each of those companies. Then the user is probably going to then search directly for your brand name. So if someone was looking for, an SEO agency and it says, oh, you could use Anicca, they are e-commerce and established brand specialists. They're based in Leicester. You could use this agency over here. They're specialists at lead gen, and they're based in the US. A user is more than likely to, just go into Google and search for Anicca Digital and try and have a look themselves. That would register as organic traffic, but not necessarily organic traffic that you are trying to achieve. You're probably looking at your brand saying, oh, well, more people are searching for our brand, so people are becoming more aware of us. Whereas in fact, they're probably getting that brand awareness from what would typically be a non-branded search term, just not in Google, in AI. So we want to make sure that we are there at every step of the journey and that we've got the ability to be discovered within AI so that people can make that decision, become aware of the brand, and then, unlocking more branded traffic, for example. So it's more that the user journey is evolving and attribution is not as clear as it used to be. There's a lot of people saying, we've reached peak traffic for organic. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think that there's still a long way to go, particularly if you're not highly visible in Google and you're relying on those results that are kind of towards the bottom of page one. So we want to grow visibility for AI, but we also want to benefit SEO at the same time. So we need to try and get our brand visible at every stage of that research journey, whether it happens within Google, whether it happens in Gemini, whether it happens in ChatGPT, whether it's just generally an AI overview. So to do that, we want to start building up content hubs that show that topical authority. So if we go back to our eat things from a few slides ago, we're building that topical authority. So if we want to rank for the term corner sofas in Google, for example, we're not going to rank just by having a single page on our website called corner sofas. We need to build and educate users and give them everything that they might need to make an informed decision about buying a corner sofa ultimately. So, we're going to want subcategory pages. We're going to want leather corner sofas, fabric corner sofas, 4-seater corner sofas, cream corner sofas, all these different things. And we're going to want to link that off from our main corner sofas page. We're then going to obviously have all the product pages. So they're going to link off. obviously we want to educate people about buying a corner sofa. So again, that's going to be linked from a load of pages, and it's also going to link back to our core corner sofas, because that's, you know, our big trophy page at the top. You've then got a whole host of other guides and questions that people are going to ask as they go through the process of buying a corner sofa. And these are all the stages where you're going to want to be visible. So, you know, I've just bought a corner sofa, and, you know, one of the things that we're worried about is it going to fit through the front door or the back door? So, you know, how do we measure our doorways to make sure that the sofas fit? How do we measure the actual sofa itself? What does, you know, what's the depth, width, height, and all that kind of stuff? We might also have cushions and throws and accessories that go with sofas that we can kind of benefit from as well. We might be doing style-led content pieces on trending sofas and what colours are in this year and things like that. And then we'll also have a load of FAQs about corner sofas and everything that we've spoken about. And all this fits into this big messy diagram that I've made. You can see there's arrows pointing everywhere to say, you know, corner sofas is obviously going to link off to product pages. It's going to link off to buying guides, which is then going to link off to, will it fit through my door, and the sofa measuring guides. And, you know, the cushions is going to link back to the corner sofas page. Your guides are going to link back. Your FAQs are going to link back to your corner sofas page. So we want to make sure that we're identifying all of the places where a user is going to make a decision, whether that's at the research phase, the consideration phase, or the actual buying phase. We want to make sure that our website is visible there. And to do that, we need to have all of this content. And it takes quite a while to identify what the content is that we need, but we can speed that process up. What we can also do is use a tool like Wakey to identify where our content lacks in AI. So you can use Wakey to run a report on your business. You give it a topic, and it will come back and it will ask the AI, what do you know about Anicca in relation to e-commerce SEO? And then it will identify against competitors all of the content that we could be lacking on our website. And it, in a lot of cases, it will say they talk about it, but they don't have a hub page that covers everything you might possibly need. And that is that page at the top. Most people will have that, but they won't have all of the supporting stuff that sits underneath it, with it all linking back and pointing back to that corner sofas page. So how do we speed up the process of finding all of this different content and what we need to build out on our website? The easiest way to do it, and the way that we've started to do it, is to use AI to our advantage to generate the initial plans. ChatGPT, Claude, all of these things, you can create your own custom GPTs. And I've built my own Claude project, for example, where I've fed it a load of feeder information at the start and gave it instructions on, every time I do this in this chat, you need to go away and do all of this for me. And it basically goes away and does all the research that I would go and do myself. It will go and look at the search results, for example. It will go and look at everyone that ranks for that corner sofas phrase. And then it will go and look at all of the type of content that them people that rank have on their website. So the AI goes away and it identifies the people that rank for a specific phrase, and then it will look at the content that they've got. So it's saying, if I want to rank in Google for corner sofas, for example, I need measuring guides. I need pages on the different types and styles of corner sofas, whether they're L-shape, U-shape. I need positioning ideas and room layout and that type of style-based content. I need left versus right hand facing content, the delivery guides and fitting through doors. You know, what happens when you order it? How long is it going to take? What happens if it turns up and you actually can't get it through my door? Do I still have to buy it and just keep it on my driveway or something? I need a bunch of FAQs. And what we can do is utilize this AI to basically streamline the process and help enable yourselves or your SEO agency or whatever it might be to actually deliver what we need, not spend all the time planning out what we need. So this enables us to, instead of spending, you know, a few days going through and looking ourselves at all of the content that the competitors have got, we can train AI models to go away and sort of do that for us. We'll obviously go and have a look ourselves as well, but you know, it's more of a, you know, we just need to fact check this and make sure that what the AI is delivering is correct. And you know, this has been trained over so many different searches that it's pretty accurate now. So once we have this content, obviously, like I said before, it needs to all link together properly. We're then left with all this hub of informational content, and all of the stuff around it is pushing the authority back to that main Corner Sofas page. Once everything is being interacted with, and it might be that, you know, people are sharing the guides and things like that, and you know, the buying guide is essentially linked to on every product page, or the measuring guide is linked to on every product page, and then the measuring guide itself is linking back up to that Corner Sofas page. Suddenly you've got this big effort to push everything towards that core trophy phrase. And you know, whilst these are all going to rank well and they're going to drive more longer tail searches to the website potentially, you also want to be getting that traffic from the main Corner Sofas, you know, those 10,000 searches a month type keywords as well. The other thing this allows us to do is capture every section of that buying journey. So again, I've trained my little AI agent to do this for me, but it will basically go in and identify at what part of the funnel each of these pieces of content sit in, to make sure that we're capturing people at every stage. So we've got that top of the funnel, you know, people searching types of corner sofas, L shape versus U shape, corner sofa ideas or open plan living, are corner sofas worth it, that sort of thing. We've got all of this content here that's going to answer the questions that those people have when they're at the very start of that buying journey. Then we've got content that's that middle of funnel stage. So, you know, will my sofa fit? Should I get a left-hand sofa versus a right-hand sofa? How do I care for a leather fabric, a leather sofa or a fabric sofa, for example? And then the bottom of the funnel, once people are educated and say, right, we are going to get a corner sofa, then they start saying, you know, what's the best corner sofa shops, or what corner sofa buying guide, things like that. And we're able to capture not just in Google searches, but also, again, like I say, in that AI, we're able to capture and potentially get that visibility. And if we're there every step of that journey and we keep being mentioned by the AI, subconsciously that user is going to become aware of our brand. And the more likelihood is at the end of that journey, we either get a referral from the AI, or we might get a branded search click to our website, or even a direct visit or something like that. So although it's becoming harder to attribute things to organic, it is part of that journey. And if your organic is lacking, then it's the likelihood is that you're going to start to suffer in other places as well. So just to finish off, a few things just to keep an eye on. The world of search is evolving at a rapid pace. I think last year was a bit of a whirlwind. I think it was quite a tough year to be in the SEO industry. It was a lot of doom and gloom, and a lot of, you know, you're all going to lose your job next year because people aren't going to search on Google and Google's not going to exist anymore. I'm a lot more hopeful now, I think. Now the dust is settling a little bit. I don't think it's as daunting as it first appeared. I think everything will still sort of have its place. But just a few things to keep an eye on things that could further affect your organic traffic or your organic ChatGPT referrals, or whatever you want to call them. The first thing, Google and Apple came out at the start of this year. Gemini is going to power the new Siri on iPhones, for example. That gives Google a massive dominance in the AI sector again. People thought, you know, potentially ChatGPT would get that, but you know, or Apple would create their own AI technology to compete with Google. But clearly, Apple have thought, you know, someone's already created technology that we need. We're not going to create a better one. We'll just use Gemini, for example. So Gemini is essentially going to power a lot of the world once that starts to kick in. ChatGPT, start of the year, also confirmed ads are coming to the platform. That means there's going to be a chance to almost guarantee visibility for certain queries and things. How that's going to work, we're not too sure at the moment, whether they're going to be like shopping ads or just text ads, or what it's going to look like, or even how you're going to be able to report on those ads or see what you're showing for. That'll be interesting when it comes out. And again, that could help to inform the types of things that people are searching that will then inform the content on your website. And then also, again, start of this year, we've seen Google announce the Universal Commerce Protocol. And this is the basically agentic shopping in Google. And people are going to be able to purchase products from your website directly in Gemini, AI mode, all that kind of stuff, without even needing to visit your website. And then, just in conclusion, then I'll finish up just in time for a couple of questions if we've got any.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just in conclusion, search is changing. Users are shopping and researching in new ways. If we're solely relying on organic traffic, we're probably going to fall behind a little bit. I think you need to marry everything up a lot better. So channels, they need to work a lot closer. You know, you need to make sure what you're doing organically is being amplified through the social team, for example, or, you know, if you've got ads for a specific keyword, you know, are you also pushing that organically? Are you appearing in AI search? If so, you know, is the right type of information displaying in AI search, or is AI hallucinating and pushing people to pages that don't exist on your website? Because I had that yesterday. Like I said, AI search is becoming popular, particularly in the research phase, but it's very difficult to track visibility. Hopefully one day Google Search Console or ChatGPT will come out with first-party reporting. I highly doubt they will, but you know, it's one thing that would be quite ideal, is to have a search console for Gemini or something like that. And we're also fast approaching a world where humans don't necessarily need to interact with your website at all. And we need our websites essentially to work with AI agents and have those agents be able to interact with it. So one of the key things that, if you've not checked and you're using Cloudflare by default blocks AI from viewing your website. So I'd go into Cloudflare and just check that that's unticked, because you're basically saying, no, ChatGPT can't look at my website or use my content or anything like that. So you're not going to get any visibility. Despite that, old SEO is still important. Your fundamental on-page SEO, if you're not doing that, you're already a few steps behind and you're going to struggle to catch up. And organic success is not just about how many clicks you get. Being present at each stage of the buying journey and building that brand awareness is going to result in better performance. And generally, I don't think anymore the organic traffic and clicks to your website should be that key measure of success. I think we should be looking at, you know, what's the share of the voice that we've got, what is the visibility that we've got, what is the bottom line, how many leads and sales are we getting through our website. Right on time.
Brilliant. Okay, so we've got 5 minutes for questions. So the first one I've answered the large language models. I think the one that we need to answer is schema. And then Rob, which is Susanna, what is AI picking up from schema? I guess it's pretty similar to what the search engines are picking up, to be honest, but you might be able to answer a bit more on that. And then Rob's asking, should we be prioritizing implementing an LLMs.text, which is a robot.text, but for obviously for LLMs or LLMs? Somebody asked that question as well. So LLM is large language model, which is basically the trained data that's behind. If any of you are interested, we are running 2-day training courses every month on AI and helping you with prompting and all this stuff. And the next one is on the 9th and the 16th of March. We're already halfway through February. So it's 400 quid plus VAT. So if anybody's interested in signing up, I post on it quite regularly. But let's answer their questions then. Asking something about schema first, I think.
Yep. In relation to schema, AI looks at the schema, but it doesn't look at the schema, if that makes sense. So AI basically just crawls everything that it identifies on a page. So it doesn't go through and look for that product schema tag. But where you've got your price, you've got your availability, you've got your link to it, you've got your SKU or whatever it is. Obviously, that's the exact type of language that the LLMs need to identify to be able to say how much a price is, how much a product is, and whether it's in stock and stuff. So it doesn't explicitly look at the schema tags itself, but it will kind of take that information. It takes it in that clear, identifiable way, basically. And then LLMs.txt. Again, we don't do anything with LLMs.txt files. They don't really do anything at this point. I think John Mueller from Google came out and said, it's pointless. People will think they work because, again, the AI is finding that content on the website and going through it, but it's not necessarily paying attention to it. It's not a directive file like a robots.txt is that's actually used by crawlers.
While I ask you the next question, could you load your slides up to the handouts, please? Because some people are asking for them, and a lot of people go at 10. At 3 now. I still can't get used to the fact that this is 9 till 10. I think there's some really important points there, but I've got a few more questions. One of the things that I think people misunderstand between the difference between SEO and geo is that the way that the information is stored is different. And Google is sort of coming back to your site and crawling all of it, whereas we actually think that if you're not in the training data, which gets updated every 6 to 12 months, every time they say, oh, there's a new release, it's 5.2, the training data, they go online. And we think the data is indicating that they're actually going and almost like scraping Google or using some sort of SERPs tool to find out what the most important up-to-date content is. And that's why there's quite a big overlap between being good in SEO and being good in AI overviews or being good in ChatGPT. Because although there's not an 100% overlap, I think it was 60%, but you might have seen something newer than that of results that are in AI overviews are also in the top 10. You can get found in the AI overviews or ChatGPT without being in the top 10, as we've seen from some of the data we've just seen. The key to it is to get into the training data so that you're its first pick. And one of the things about the training data is LLMs, they save their data, or they retrieve their data, which is basically the way that LLMs work, in chunks of about 100 words. So if you go and load up a blog and it's 3,000 words and it's all one big long text, it isn't going to be found. Whereas if you have lots of paragraphs and bullets, you can make it more accessible. So there's some differences in the way data is retrieved, and therefore the way that you should present data. But there's quite a lot of other differences, which would cover in a different seminar on geo. But I think we should just answer some of these. Yeah, so I've got a few other questions in the Q&A. So what is the difference between commercial and transactional searches?
Good question. I always think that as well. Commercial is more not necessarily like buy and things like that, but things that could be related to, I guess, taking an action, not necessarily buying, but it could be lead, like the equivalent of lead gen, basically. So if you're looking for a specific service or something like that.
Kirsty's asked about, is there any one tool or more tools to discover the prompts people are using? How do you rate the previous big hitters in SEO, e.g. SEMrush, for their new AI analysis function? We always said this was going to be a difficult one, didn't we? Right from day, 3 or 4 years ago when we were first talking about this. Go on then. Go on, Brad.
It's almost, I don't want to say impossible, but it's so hard to know how people are searching in AI because everyone searches in a completely different way. It's a lot more conversational. So you have to, like I kind of said, look at it from a topic point of view, and try and answer get your content to answer the questions of things that people might ask. So, if people are looking for the best artificial grass for a 50% shaded garden, and I've also got a dog, there's a lot of people will search something similar, but they wouldn't search that. So yeah, it's quite difficult. But we use Wakey mainly, but that's more from identifying where the content gaps on our website are. But yeah, I haven't actually used SEMrush AI analysis. I had a quick look at Ahrefs and I wasn't overly impressed by it. It seems like they lack quite a lot of data.
They've all rushed them out. The other thing that you'll learn very quickly, which is why we've spent so long researching this, is the cost of the APIs to go and actually create the reports very, very expensive. And so the cost of the subscriptions for a lot of these tools are very expensive as well. So as an agency, we get quite a better deal because we can have multiple sites and so we can spread the cost. So sometimes it's cheaper to come to us than it would be to have your own reporting tool. Okay, so another question: how is SEO involved in certain products or industries across UK, US, and well, I think you probably answered that across this whole presentation. It is evolving pretty quickly, and there's so much new stuff coming out. You're probably going to have to do this talk every 3 months this year, I think. And then, yes, Kirsty was asking about the project that you use in Claude to create the content hubs. Do you want to explain what a Claude project is, or?
Yeah. So to create the content hubs, it's basically my own custom Claude project. So Claude project is like your own little personal space where you feed the model certain bits of information and instruct it on how to do things. So it's not necessarily, I guess it is a tool, but it's like a little hacky tool that I've made myself. And but I mean, anyone can do it. You just need to get a base from what you want to start building from. So, I mean, I got it to start designing things for me in the way I wanted things laid out. And then I say, okay, that's good. Now go and do it for this. And in the meantime, I want you to go and look at who's performing for this phrase in Google UK and tell me what type of supporting content they've got and what you think we'd need to create to compete for that type of key phrase. So yeah,
I think within the next 3 months, we'll probably do a webinar on Claude projects, Claude code and skills. It's sort of where we're all going internally to a different speed. I mean, we have to pay for our own training to keep us at the head of the curve all the time, and then we can then share stuff with you. But that's the stuff that we're investing our time in, and we've got a lot of products that we're producing which will become more like subscriptions. So if you haven't checked out Secret Agents, go and check that out. I know there were some bugs this weekend because it ended up every single time the technology gets upgraded, unfortunately some stuff crashes. We're trying to get around that at the moment. This is the problem with AI, by the way, guys. You do need to allow for the fact that not everything works all the time, and sometimes you have to have a lot of patience. I don't know if there's any more questions in the other chat. Have you managed to do your handout? Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, I've put it in the handout. I've answered a couple of the questions that were in the chat as well. So yeah, I think that's fine.
So if you'd like to give Brad a review, if any of you are interested in a geo and SEO strategy report, we're offering them at half price, so they're just £500 at the moment plus that. So if any of you are interested in that, then if you just message either Anne at Anicca or Brad at Anicca. Brad's got a bit of a queue at the moment. He's got about 3 to do for next week. So, we can usually turn them around reasonably quickly because James is around to help. Brilliant. Okay, well, thanks very much, everybody. And we'll see you in 2 weeks if you're interested in Amazon marketplaces and tech to help you with your retail media. And thanks a lot to James. Thanks a lot, Brad. That was amazing.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was useful.
Bye.
Bye.